Hello everyone, and welcome back. I know my channel's primarily been focused on video game horror, but I've wanted to try out some non-video game content for a while, and then I came across the Mckinney Family Home Videos series. Mckinney Family Home Videos operates under the guise of just being a VHS collection of family home videos, but needless to say, that's not what these videos end up being. Bro, this is not Bible study. One thing I really appreciate about this horror series is how it doesn't get so big for itself, you know? Like, there's no multiple world line thing going on, no crazy overarching conspiracy. It doesn't even really leave the area it takes place in. And it's not that I dislike those kinds of stories, but I think with horror, specifically when something has too many moving parts, it kind of takes me out of it. I'd recommend checking out their channel first and watching their videos, but if you're okay with me poorly summarizing it with shitty editing, that's okay too. Alright, let's get into it. So about the timeline, I'm not entirely sure what order these videos take place in because I don't think the timeline particularly matters too much, save for a few videos like the beginning and end. So the way I'll be working through these is in release order, which I believe to be the intended way to view anyway. There are dates on these videos, but watching them in that order doesn't really make sense because some things kind of conflict. So I'm just going to assume the dates are the names of the original VHSs that these current videos are taped over. I'll go through them summarizing the events and pointing out details, then at the end I'll try to put together a theory and order of events. We good? Cool. Okay, the first video is titled Move In 1991. The description reads, "The last time we were happy." This video is definitely the most normal out of all of them and sets up the most lore because we can trust almost everything about it. The video begins with the Mckinney family father making a VHS of the move-in process for what I presume to be the kid's grandmother. He details how happy they all are to finally be moving, and the voice acting here is honestly outstanding. I could genuinely believe I'm watching some 1991 dude move into a house.
And as you can see, Jess has already put out some of your Halloween decor that you gave us. Thank you again. We cannot thank you enough.
He surveys around the house and finds the window screen pushed aside and the doorbell torn out, but I think these are just red herrings. We are introduced to a few characters in this first video. The unnamed father, Jess his wife, Christy his daughter, and we can assume he has another child because he says kids plural, and the unnamed grandmother. We then see some more Halloween decor and a foreboding painting.
Also got your painting hung up. Jess was insistent that we got this one up. She loves this painting so much.
He proceeds to the basement, or as he calls it, creepy basement.
Got the creepy basement stairs.
He explores around and remarks about the stuff that the previous tenants had left behind, being sure to mention a wedding picture.
I'll have to reach out to the realtor and see. I would hate for them. That looks like a wedding picture. I would hate for them to just not have their wedding picture.
He heads back upstairs and speaks about how good it is to get a fresh start with everything that's been going on, and is interrupted by a phone call, one which plays over an ominous zoom-in of the basement wedding picture. The phone call seems to be a member of the local church. The family had recently attended a service at this church, due to it being close to the house, and recommended by his mother, even though they don't consider themselves to be religious or spiritual people. He goes on to say how he was surprised it was less conservative than he was expecting, and how his mother has had her issues with it in the past, but she seemed to have calmed down. The phone call ends with the other end of the phone asking about more church involvement. And that's the first video. You probably have a few questions, but I'm sure some of them will be answered soon. This next video is where things start to get a little fuzzy with the timelines and stuff, so just ignore the date in the title. The video is titled Bible Study 1996, and the description is, "They were all I had." The video starts with footage of the father and his wife at a petting zoo, and everything is pretty normal. It then cuts to a train or car ride, and we get our first oddity of the series. A missing persons poster flashes on the screen detailing an early 30s woman last seen in May of 1993 that has a tattoo of a cross on her left wrist. It then cuts back to normalish footage of a group walking down the street, and I'm going to make two assumptions here for some consistency. I'm going to go ahead and assume that for each and every one of these videos that the dad is the one filming, as it seems to make the most sense. Well, except for one of the videos. Other assumption I'll make is that the group in this video are members of the church that the family has made friends with, following their continued involvement. The dad mentions in the previous video that he doesn't know anyone out here, so we can presume that these people are all in the church social circle. They continue down the street and come to a historical plague house and explore the cemetery. They seem to be looking for something, and the dad seems to be sure to check certain graves with his camera light. It's at this point where our second missing person poster appears on the screen. Another woman with a tattoo of a cross on her left wrist. The group then gathers around a specific grave, and the camera glitches and cuts to a lone shot of a grave and a third missing persons poster. An early 20s woman with, again, the tattoo of a cross on her left wrist. Wearing shame. Yeah, I feel that. Ominous graves are then shown, and we get our first instance of text appearing. We trusted you. Heaven is not yours. The final poster is shown with screaming heard in the background. The text is cluttered and unreadable, with an eye appearing on the poster. The last shot of this video is a church with the text, "You are not welcome here." Following that video is a video called 3rd Grade Graduation 1994. Description reading, "They worked together." The footage shown is an exterior shot of a school and then a door. It then cuts to interior shots of seemingly random things, but it's clear he's looking for something. He then enters the library and hears a book fall behind him, and it's apparent by this point that some supernatural force is both following and leading him. Text then appears. It wasn't here. It cuts to a shot of the teacher's lounge, and the outside is shown with a few people gathering. Perhaps fellow cult members. I'm gonna just begin calling this church a cult, because if it isn't obvious by now, this church is much more than just a local neighborhood church. More text appears. I begged you. With a shot of the principal's office showing that maybe the school is also involved with the cult. After this, it cuts back to a shot of his home with the text, "Please, not here." The same door from earlier is shown, now glowing red, and a phone begins ringing. If you pick up, the devil will answer. The next shot shown is a decrepit building with the sounds of a child crying, while a deep voice reads Psalms verse 137, 8-9. Thank you to this comment for letting me know that. Daughter Babylon, doomed to destruction. Happy is the one who repays you according to what you have done to us. Happy is the one who seizes your infants and dashes them against the rocks. Now, I am not a religious person, so I have no idea what this is talking about, but from my limited research, it seems to be a verse of not a god condoning or encouraging these actions, rather a man wishing the same upon his captors, as they have done unto him. Again, I am not religious, take everything I say with a grain of salt. I am getting this info from a Reddit thread. The last bit of footage from this video is an exterior shot of a home with the text, I won't come home again, but only you know why. The video ends with a ghostly shot of a girl. The next video is a bit of a lighter video, as it mostly just consists of still shots, so I'll move through it somewhat quickly. The title is Grandma's House 1995, and the description is, She laughs at us. The highlights of this video are basically just a bunch of still shots of a decrepit house, along with some text. The screaming. It never stops. This is my body. No, that's a table. This is my blood. It's not enough. And the closing shot of the footage is an exterior shot of the home, with burning and screaming heard, and text reading, I was never enough. A subsequent video is titled Christy Baptism 1993, and this is the halfway point in the series. Description simply states, my children are missing. The video opens with a driving shot, and before transitioning to the next shot, there is a split-second frame of some weird bearded bird drawing. He parks his car on the side of the road and heads into the forest and eventually comes to some sort of abandoned building. He stumbles into the abandoned building and looks out the window expectantly, as if he's hiding from something. He lets out a few cold breaths and suddenly steps on something making a noise, and he freezes, knowing he's just alerted something. Text enters the screen, reading, Who is there? I can't talk to strangers. Where are we going? There's some really good tension building in this part because you don't really see anything, but you know something's there. He hears some scuffling noises and another split-second frame is shown, where we can see some sort of alien figure thing and the pea shooter from Plants vs. Zombies. And if we look in the corner, we can see some small text that reads, "Dwayne is sad." He exits the building and walks into a graveyard, and it cuts to a window shot with that same pea shooter, and text pops up. "He's hurting me." Distorted breathing is heard from the forest. "You can hear me. I have been made pure." A child is then heard screaming from the forest, "Help me." Our protagonist backs away and the video ends with, "I have seen God. I want to go home." And at the end of the video, a message appears saying what I can only ascertain to be Dwayne is watching. Since we're halfway through, let's do a quick rundown of the important things. I'll make it super quick since we just watched all of that. Family moves into a house, gets involved with a weird cult, people going missing, dead children, and a devil watching over the whole thing. How we feeling so far? Good? Well, we have 5 more videos to go through, so let's see how much further this all goes. The 6th video in the series is named Scaremare 1995, and description: can't get out. This video in particular kinda scares me more than the others, cause I can watch horror movies all day, but the second some cheap, barely functioning horror prop comes out, I get a little shivery. The family and some friends are setting up a scary walkthrough for maybe some competition called the Scaremare, but it could just as well be for only Halloween. I think we may be able to trust the date of this video being 1995, because the footage matches up with the title. So what has happened so far is what I'm wondering. I don't think I'd be setting up a scary Halloween walkthrough if my children were missing, but hey, that's just me. So maybe there's just been small involvement in the 4 years it's been since the move-in video. The video is relatively normal in the beginning despite the spooky setting. The scary prop noises put you somewhat on edge, and the poor audio quality mending with them create a really deep and scary droning noise. We then get some shots of creepy dolls with the text, "You're about to be born. Are you prepared?" A dried bloodstain then appears. "What did you see?" The footage then goes completely silent with a tracking shot through the attraction with no lights. He focuses on a summoning circle and what seems to be a deliberate shot of a skeleton standing over 2 smaller skeletons in a bathtub. He then approaches what appears to be someone sitting on a couch, and the footage cuts back to the doll. "You made me an angel." Creepy laughing is heard and the image changes. "You are the devil." The following video is called Jessica Homecoming 1998. Description: I love you. The footage begins with a forest tree line and what seems to be a sermon playing. It then cuts to a nighttime shot of the forest and some loud noises. Our protagonist then approaches the very house he moved into at the beginning of the story, now seemingly abandoned. The house glows red and he enters. He wanders around the interior and it changes to an outside shot with a flashing light, distorted music, whispering, and screaming. Various texts then flood the screen. Do you see it? Do you hear it? Was it worth it? They're rotting. And it's your fault, vile blasphemer. Hollow apologies. What will you do? Can you forgive yourself? We are now in the basement and hear footsteps upstairs. He approaches a door and we get a shot of the basement hallway. And a demonic face suddenly appears, with agonizing noises. God will never forgive you. Footage is then shown of his wife Jessica looking solemn and staring into the camera. Some bushes are shown and eating sounds are heard. The camera cuts out and help flashes on the screen. The next video is a bit different from all the others, as it's the only one I believe to not be filmed by the father, but rather one of his children. The title is just blank. Like, no, it's literally blank. Description is a sad face. It starts with an innocuous request from an unknown source. Tell me about your family. Although the person being asked doesn't seem very receptive to this. Why not? Do you have friends? Show me. We then get a backstory of sorts. This is where I'm from. These are my friends. And then we get into their family. This is Dwayne. This is Mommy. This is me. Grandma. The short video ends with a sentence. Mommy will make it better. So we've been hearing some things about this Dwayne character, and not much has been said about them. But 2 more videos. The second to last video is titled Family Vacation 1990. Description: The devil made me do it. The footage begins with some outside shots of some sort of biblical attraction, but quickly cuts to some interior home footage. But it doesn't seem to be the same home we've seen before. This being in 1990, it could be the previous home. The cameraman zooms down a hallway and a red figure appears. I can help you. I can save you. We then get footage of inside the attraction and get the text. The only way out is to burn. It cuts to a red skeleton. It is not enough to burn. Make them suffer. A long hallway is shown with the text, You lied. And then we see a shot of a dirt hole with someone inside pleading for help. We then get the following. Hell is open. You are not you anymore. Heaven is weeping. 2 graves appear and we see more footage of the attraction with some hanging bodies and a creepy devil mask, all with rope sounds in the background. A shadowy figure materializes and the text reads, The devil saw everything. And in the last remaining bits of the video, we see the wife on a train, but she quickly becomes distorted and we see the words, Please come home. The final video, well, at least final video we have so far, but could very well be the final video, is named Dwayne Hunting Trip 1997. I tore them apart. The video begins with some somber snowy shots of the forest. The Holy Mother approaches. The cameraman then begins trekking through the snow and comes across a no trespassing sign and a snow angel. The snow angel then becomes bloodied. Be not afraid. He continues his walk and more text appears. Lilith is coming. Do you remember now? He zooms in on a spot of blood in the snow and hears a voice, but no one is behind him. You followed me. You prayed to me. You gave your life to me, but you left your faith. We then see a bloodied shed door. You were punished by me. Your mother brought you home, and you paid for treason. All must die, so that I may live. We then enter the shed and look around. Our protagonist hears something behind him and... Actually, I'll just play this part.
Hello, my son. Welcome to heaven.
We finally see the thing that's been tormenting our main character. And this guy is... I don't actually know what to say about it. It's a weird, uncanny Jesus-type cosplay. And oh boy, it's ungodly. My blessed follower, you have disappointed me. Your mother is ashamed. Why do you reject me when I am your God? The camera glitches and we get the text. You and your family have always belonged to me. Angelic music starts to play and we get to see the monster up close. My will is done. Your debt is paid. Now leave this place and never return. Because if you do, I will devour you. Your body and mind are yours once again. The video ends with him leaving and a simple message. Goodbye, Dwayne. So now that we have all the info, let's try to make a timeline of what happened. I know I said ignore the dates in the titles, but I think with this theory, it can all line up. I'll lead with probably my most controversial theory. I don't think Dwayne is some demon or the devil. I believe Dwayne to be the name of the father. There is some evidence to support this, like how Dwayne is a part of when the child talks about their family. Probably so far removed by that point that they don't even want to call him Dad. And also during this part, it sounds like Dwayne. Okay, so now that we have a name, I'll be referring to him as Dwayne. So here's my take on the whole thing. As a child, Dwayne's mother was very religious and strict, maybe to the point of being borderline abusive. Fast forward to him as an adult, and he lives away from his mother and has his own family. His family seems to go through a rough patch at some point, needing a fresh start. Enter Dwayne's mother, who suggests they move closer to her. Side note, Dwayne may have already been having visions at this point before the move, as we can see in 1990. So Dwayne starts the moving process and is recommended a church to go to by his mother. Him and his family go to said church and seem to fuck with the vibes. They continue their involvement as the years progress, but eventually the true nature of the church cult is revealed. Dwayne begins to make sacrifices for the god, possibly of dissenters that started to drift away from the cult. Eventually this escalates to a point in 1993 where, to prove his loyalty to the god, he is forced to sacrifice his own daughter, Christy. He can't do it himself, so he has other cult members do it for him. He does, however, enter the forest to witness it, but runs away. Quite literally, Dwayne is watching. He continues his involvement in the church, obviously with a broken family, but not a completely devastated one. Yet. In 1994, Dwayne is forced to make another sacrifice that he cannot back out of. Another child. He is forced by the god at his other child's third graduation to take a sacrifice from the school, as he begs, "Please, not here." This might be a child of someone who disagrees with the church, as it would align with the Psalms verse. In 1995, he is still haunted by messages from his deceased daughter, and is eventually forced to kill again. He sets his own mother's house ablaze, and I think this kills 2 members of the family. His mother, and his only remaining child. At this point, I believe his wife Jessica decides to leave, as it is too much for her to bear. Dwayne continues his cult activities, as we can see in 1996, and he can't take it anymore. He needs Jess to come home. So she does, and perhaps possessed by his demons, he kills her and eats her. He is haunted by messages of the people he's killed, and has no family left at this point, so the god begins to take pity on him. In 1997, he is led to a sacrifice spot, and taunted by the voices of his deceased family members. It is at this point where it's explained to him how the god was angered that he left his faith. However, the god's will is done, and he is let go and told to never come back. However, this is not where it ends for Dwayne. He is a broken man by this point. No family, has been forced to commit irredeemable actions. You can't come back from that. So in 1998, he decides to return to the house that started it all. He is confronted by both ghosts and demons alike, and eventually is killed in the basement, hopefully finally able to make peace with everything. Well, that's all of it. Did I do good? I'd love to hear your guys' take on things. This video is pretty fun to make, and I think I'd want to cover more ARGs or analog horror in the future, so if you guys have any recommendations, I'll check them out. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it and hope you enjoyed. I will see you next time. Goodbye.